Hello there. This story is a classic. It was written long ago and it is still popular to read even today. The name of it is The Ugly Duckling. The author's name is Hans Christian Andersen, and he was born in a country called Denmark many years ago. And you're going to see a pair of shoes that reflect the country in which he was born, because the shoes you're going to see in this story are made out of wood. The Ugly Duckling by Hans Christian Andersen, illustrated by Lisa McHugh. One summer day, a mother duck's eggs began to crack. 6 little ducklings broke out from their shells. Peep, peep, they cried. Are you all here? The mother asked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, she counted. One egg, much bigger than all the others, had not yet hatched. So the mother duck sat and sat on the big egg. At last it began to crack. Peep, peep, cried the new duckling. Leading her brood to the pond, the mother gasped when she saw the new duckling waddling along, for he was big and ugly. He does not look like the others, she thought. I wonder if he can swim. The duckling splashed into the water with the strange, ugly duckling last of all. He swam merrily with the rest. The mother duck was pleased. After a long swim, she marched her children into the barnyard to meet the other birds. Look at that ugly one, some ducks murmured. They began to laugh and peck at him. Leave him alone, cried the mother. He swims well, and he will grow to be a fine drake, I'm sure. Now, a drake is a boy duck. But day after day, the poor duckling's life in the barnyard grew worse. Not only did the ducks make fun of him, but the chickens and the turkeys did as well. Finally, he could stand no more teasing and ran away. The duckling soon came to a swamp that was surrounded by woods. He fell asleep among the rushes under a friendly moon. The duckling stayed alone in the rushes for 2 whole days. Then 2 wild geese came by, wanting to pass the time. You are so ugly that I like you, one of them said. Come with us, and we will introduce you to some other geese. But before they could go, a great bang, bang rang through the woods. In a flash, the 2 wild geese were gone. Hunters and their dogs were coming through the woods. The duckling looked about him. In the distance he saw an enormous dog with its tongue hanging out of its mouth. The dog came closer and closer, but after a good look at the ugly duckling, it barked and ran off another way. Thank goodness, the ugly duckling cried. When he was sure it was quite safe, the ugly duckling spread his wings and began to fly away. Flying was difficult, for it was his first flight and there was a strong wind. But he kept on till evening, when he came to a little tumble-down cottage. The tired bird slipped inside the cottage. It belonged to an old woman who lived there with a tomcat and a hen. "What good luck!" said the old woman when she saw the ugly duckling. "We shall have duck's eggs to eat if this duck doesn't turn out to be a drake." So they call boy ducks drakes. Girl ducks are just called ducks. The hen and the tomcat crept quite close to the drake. "Can you lay eggs?" the hen asked. "Can you purr or arch your back?" the tomcat asked. "No," said the young drake, "but I can swim and fly." "Swim? Fly?" the hen cackled. "What earthly good is swimming or flying? You should learn to lay eggs." "Or purr," added the grinning tomcat. "I had best be on my way," said the drake, whose heart was beating quite fast. He left the cottage at once and flew to a marsh. Outside, the autumn winds were howling. The young drake was happy to swim and dive in the water, but he felt all alone. One frosty evening, a flock of beautiful white birds flew overhead. The young drake felt strange when he saw them. He cried out to them and spun around in the water, but soon the large birds were out of sight. The weather grew colder, and one night the pond froze. The drake was stuck in the ice. The next morning, a kind peasant came by. When he saw the shivering bird, he broke the ice with his wooden clogs and carried him home. Do you notice those shoes he's wearing? Those are called clogs, and they're made entirely out of wood. Isn't that amazing? The peasant's children wanted to play with the bird, and they began to chase him. He flew up in a panic, knocking over a pitcher of milk. It crashed to the floor, along with some china. "Oh!" the peasant's wife cried, raising her hands in anger. This frightened the bird still more. He flew into the new butter and then into the flour bin. "Out of my house before you spoil all the food," the woman cried, and she drove the young drake outdoors again. For the rest of the winter, the drake slept in the marsh grass. When the sun began to shine warm again, he awoke. His feathers were a lighter color now, and when he stretched his wings, he found that they were big and strong. How good it felt to fly under the warm sunshine. The drake flew until he came to a splendid garden. There was a pond, and on it glided 3 of the beautiful white birds he had seen before. The drake fluttered down onto the water. "They will not let me swim with them," he thought sadly, "but at least I can gaze at them in all their beauty." The swans swam closer, and the drake bowed his head as they passed. But there, as he looked into the water, what did he see? He saw his reflection. A graceful, long-necked white bird looked back at him, and this bird was lovelier than all the others. The drake had been a swan all along, though none had known it, and now all the beautiful swans were gathering about to welcome him. So he wasn't a duck, so really he wasn't a drake. A boy swan is called a cob. Cob. Isn't that a funny name for a boy swan? But that's what they're called. And a girl swan is called a pen. Cob for boys, pen for girls. Two children ran into the garden. "Look, look!" cried the boy. "There is a new swan." "He is the loveliest of all," said the girl. The swan was filled with joy. "I never thought I should know such happiness," he said to himself, "when I was but an ugly duckling." And of course, that's the name of the story, isn't it? The Ugly Duckling. Turns out he wasn't a duckling at all, was he? He was a swan. And do you know what they call baby swans? They don't call baby swans ducklings. They call them cygnets. Cygnets. Can you say that? Cygnet. Well, that was quite a story. And it's a good one to keep passing on down through the ages. I'm glad you could enjoy it with me. We'll try a different book next time. Till then, I'll say bye-bye.